subject continues with the life and work and teachings of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But we are discussing a particular subject which concerns all of us, and that is life here on this planet and life hereafter. There was no way for a person to realize that there was a continuity. Once that we see, we find that we are sometimes told that once you are finished on this earth, you are finished forever. Philosophy. And to find out that the meaning of life, the meaning of all that we do on this earth is together destroyed. I mean, what is the use of becoming virtuous and pious? What is the use of becoming tolerant while others usurp your rights if it is going to be dust to dust and no resurrection thereafter? Because if he is going to be of the same fate as you being virtuous and he being vicious, you being kind and he being malicious, you being on the receiving end and he being the wrongdoer, if both of you are going to be dust and nothing else and perish, why should you on earth suffer? So the meaning and the purpose of life on earth perished together with this philosophy. The Prophet has given meaning to this life. This is what I want to say. And meaning to whatever we do by telling us that you are not going to perish, but there is a difference. You see, on this earth, sometimes we suffer simply because we do not ponder and observe. Before I proceed, I am told that there is a congestion there below, behind. Could you just please come forward to make room for those who have come late? Allahumma salli ala Thank you. Now, he himself used to say, we are just in winter, and soon after this, when all the trees seem without leaves, lifeless, your garden has become lifeless, it will take only two months, 2 weeks rather, when spring sets in, to see that which was totally dead reanimated. In no time you will see the gardens full with leaves, trees full of leaves. You will see the flowers bloom. But you did not expect if you see it as it is now, because it is just as dead as anything. And if anyone came and saw this, he might say that this will never revive. But it takes only a few days and suddenly you find the whole city full of flowers. Where did it come from? The tree which was totally divested of the leaves, the birds had deserted the tree. Now immediately you find life everywhere. That is why the Prophet used to say, these are the ahadith which do not connect or have any connection with namaz or roza. These are ahadith of the Prophet which have direct connection with observation and intellect. إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الرَّبِيعَ, the Prophet said, whenever you see spring setting in, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الرَّبِيعَ فَاكْثُرُوا ذِكْرَ النُّشُورِ, when you see that the spring is setting in and that which was dead has again got life into it, try to remember resurrection more often. That means the same way as this became lifeless and then there was life again, the same way there shall be death, and after death there shall be rising again. He told the Arabs then But the Arabs could not reconcile between the two. Today we have this hadith. إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الرَّبِيعِ فَاكْثُرُوا ذِكْرَ النُّشُورِ. When you see the spring, remember how we shall all be resurrected, and remember more often. The difference is that all of us sleep. All of us. Once you feel sleepy, there is no one to prevent you. And if you are prevented from sleeping, I think that is the severest torture one can give to anyone. You can deprive a man from food, from drink, he can put up. But if you deprive him of sleep, for some time he might go mad. So we sleep, all of us. Allah in Quran says, Allahu yatawaffal anfus hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. Allah takes full control of every soul when death occurs. And if death does not occur, then He takes that control during the sleep. Yatawaffa means to take into full control. Yatawaffal anfus hina mawtiha, if it dies. Wallati lam tamut, if it is not to be dead, fi manamiha, then in its sleep. We are in His control every time we sleep. He has given an analogy and a parallelism between death and sleep. Then He gives the difference. فَيُمْسِكُ الَّتِي قَضَى عَلَيْهَا الْمَوْتِ. If death is destined and decreed, then that nafs which has been taken control of is withheld, not to come back. وَيُرْسِلُ الْأُخْرَى إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. Those who are not destined to die, they are only asleep. Nafs is allowed to go back for a fixed period. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And in this process there are signs for a community which thinks, Allah says. So when we die, if we are destined to die, if we sleep and we are destined to die, then that nafs cannot come back, because yumsikul lati qada alayha al-maut. He withholds it. If it is only asleep, He allows to go back. But ila ajalim musamma, only for a fixed period. That means if he didn't die tonight, there is one day when he will die. Ila ajalim musa. So this is what happens, that we do die and we sleep, and the sleep is a sister of death. Only if we... Haven't you seen people sometimes refusing to shut their eyes? I have seen. A friend of mine who was seriously ill, and when he was taken over by sleep, he refused to close his eyes and shut his eyes. So we told him, what happened? Why don't you sleep? He says, if I shut, I'll die. So he is sleepy, he is ill, he must take rest, but he fears death. He doesn't want to wink, feeling that if I shut my eyes like this, I'll die. He doesn't know that you are definitely every night in His control when you die, when you sleep. The only thing is this, that death and approach of death gives us a time of an appraisal of what we have done so far. I said last time that it passes before the eye of the dying person like a strip of film showing what he did. Many people sometimes ask, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take account of our deeds. Has He kept an accountant? And if He has, how many accountants? The people have been on this planet over last thousands of centuries. And on a day of judgment, which is Yawm al-Qiyamah, He is going to take account of everyone. Even if He employs as many malaika as He wishes, it will take a long time to complete. And has He considered one very important factor that human being can deny and can also justify? A human being is so clever, and it is for that cleverness that it has got an edge over malaika, because the malaika do not know this cleverness. But a human being has an edge over malaika because of that particular bent of intelligence, that it can always justify its wrong deed. And it can also offer many excuses. It can also deny altogether. In Gujarati they say, Masjid ma gayu tu kaun? He can straight away say, Allah, Ya Allah, I never did this. Ghalib said this. Ghalib's mashhur sha'r, couplet, famous is, Pakde jate hain farishton ke likhe par nahaq. We are being arrested because the farishta have written nahaq, without justification. Aadmi koi hamara dame tahrir bhi tha. When the malaika wrote down whatever he wrote, was there a witness on my part? How can I accept it? The thing is this, that people have understood differently, that they think that they are going to be accountable the way we are accountable to each other. Jamaat accountable to the public, business is accountable to the shareholders and directors and things like that, or to the income tax department. That is not the way. The way is very simple, very simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kafa alayka bi nafsika al-yawma hasiba. Today you are an accountant of yourself. The strip will just run before you, within you, and you will see that you lied and you killed and you had done the backbiting, that you usurped, that you, everything you did is before you, and you are the judge and you are the accountant and nobody else. When one becomes an accountant of himself, self-evident standing there, there is no need for anyone to come and deny. There is no denial. Who will deny? When you are your own accountant or judge. That will happen. And Quran says, وَجَاءَتْ سَكْرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ ذَلِكَ مَا كُنْتَ مِنْهُ تَحِيدٌ. This intoxication, this ecstasy of death shall come, and that is destined and true. Whether you die by accident, whether you die by immediate heart arrest, whether you die with prolonged illness, whether you die drowning, whether you die burning, whichever way we die, there is an ecstasy of death which comes, which is sakaratul maut. ذَلِكَ مَا كُنْتَ مِنْهُ تَحِيدٌ. It was this moment you were trying to escape from. The Quran says, فَكَشَفْنَا عَنْكَ غِطَاءَكَ. We are going to lift all the veils from your eyes. فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيدٌ. Your eyes today is going to be very sharp. You shall see what you tried to forget. So that is the time when actually, apart from this, human being knows what is the sum total of my life. When Imam Ali alayhi salam on 20th of Ramadan or 19th, after being hit by the sword of Ibn Muljim, the first declaration made by him was, Fuztu bi Rabbil Kaaba. I have been successful in my life, I swear by the God of Kaaba, by God of Kaaba. That means he did not tell anything. It was a message to us. He did not cry for someone to go and arrest or apprehend the attacker. He didn't say that I have been hit and therefore come and help me. He didn't call out for a help. What he said was, Fuztu bi Rabbil Kaaba. I swear and take oath by the Lord of Kaaba that I have been a successful liver. My life has been successful. And that gives us an inkling that Ali ibn Abi Talib Islam was trying to tell us that it is very important the way you live on earth, so that you may face what is coming next. Many of you may have an experience, but people like us in this particular infamous profession of being mullah have such experiences which are singular, sometimes none else can have. Sometimes we are called at a deathbed of a person who refuses to die, although he should. You know what I mean? Speechless, sightless, but doesn't want to die. Then of course the family is disturbed. Doctor says as long as the heartbeat is there, because he is an old man, not made in Japan, therefore his heart is still strong, and therefore as long as the heart beats and the pulse beat is there, what can we do? Although there is total cloud in his brain, but he is living. You can't bury him. Fine. Then the people come and say, Mullah Sahib, the doctors have lifted their hands, so it is for you to enter. Now what to do? Do something to dispatch him. Do something to dispatch him fast. So what are we told to do? Do something, Mullah Sahib, please do something, that let him die peacefully. So then we start reading Yasin and things like that. There was an old man who refused to die. He was 85. And the doctor said that it's just a matter of heartbeat stopping. And I went there for once and twice, and he simply refused to die. What can we do? Finally, he said, Mullah Sahib, now read Majlis of Imam Hussain, perhaps you will die with that. Now, it means that things have been contrived for dispatching people fast. But it's not so. Well, we read Majlis also. But it was just not to work out. So then, after having heard the elderly people and after having read all this, at least something remains sticks to the mind. I said, was there anything which he loved most? Maybe his children are not here, all of them. Perhaps he would like to hear the voices of his daughters and his sons talking to him, and he might die. Because people have got some attachments. Or give him his bank statement. So one man said that, Mullah Sahib, it's really something which we should not tell you. But this man married in 1901, and since then he has one complete bag of very old gold ornaments, which he refused to give even in the children's marriage. When the children got married and grandchildren got married, normally the elderlies give away from their own gold and say, this was pure gold in which my ornaments were made, now you from this make your own. But he refused, and that is lying. I said, well, if that is lying, give it to him and keep and place it on his chest, so that he may know that it is still safe. And it was given in his hand. This is not a fiction, it is true, because it happened in my presence, that when that particular bag of gold was placed on his chest, peacefully he went. Feebly clutching it, because there was no strength in the hand to clutch it. Very feebly he clutched it, and he died peacefully. He died because of that pot of gold, you see, for which of course he could not breathe his last. Of course he was not going to take it together. But you find people say this, please bring my children before me. All right, they come. He looks at them. If he is a mu'min, if he is a believer, if he is a pious muttaqi, there is no harm in calling all the children at deathbed, provided he tells them to follow Sharia. Tells them and gives them admonition that, look, I am dying. I want you to understand that this day which has come upon me shall come upon you also one day. Live according to Sharia. Live unitedly. Live together lovingly. Respect your other elders and things like that. If I have my debts, I tell them these are my debts. Pay them off. And then I die. Say, all right, you read Shahadatain for me, so that I may follow you and read my Shahadatain. That is one way of doing it. But just looking at them because they've all assembled, nothing can happen. Or looking at the bank statement and saying, Alhamdulillah, so much is still there, is just nothing. Or even that pot of gold, for that matter. That is why we have three friends, every one of us. Every one of us. Three companions. One, in this journey of life, we have three companions. One is Mapesa, wealth, possession. We love it, really, we love it. Well, let us not be hypocrites. We love it like anything. We value people because of money. So that is one companion. Second companion is the family. We love them. Children, wife, parents, brothers and sisters too. Third I will not name. But these two friends are very intimate. No one can supersede them in intimacy. Right? As I am dying now, the first one to wish me goodbye will be wealth. It will tell me, if at all it speaks, that look, my dear, we have been good friends. But now, at this juncture, what I can provide to you is only your kafan. Kafan? I can provide kafan only. Nothing else. The majlis and Fatiha Khani and Quran Khani after your passing away, that all depends upon your children. If they wish to do. If they wish to do, they will debit you. Otherwise, they will do from their own pocket. But this kafan will come from this wealth. This is the last. And that also only wajib. Sunnat if you wish. If you don't wish, only wajib. 3 clothes. Sunnat is more than 3. That we can provide. But sorry, we can't accompany you any further. So that is the last of the wealth. The next to bid me goodbye is my family. They can come up to my grave and no further. Up to the grave they will come and say, here you are, sir. We have been good companions throughout our lives. You have been a very gentle father, a very good father. We shall always remember you and have 2 minutes silence whenever we remember you. And also Fatiha will be read. Very good, sir, but goodbye. We can't advance further than this. This is the end of it. Close it and go. So these 2 have gone. Imam Jaffer Sadi salawatullah salamu alayhi says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when explaining this, said, then there is a 3rd companion whom sometimes you did not like, but he was always with you, and that is your a'mal and your deeds. You did not like. For example, Mullah says that the Prophet has said, every morning as you rise, read Quran. Wapi. Reading Quran every day, man. I want to read newspapers, I want to know about the news, I want to run. One makra is hardly sometimes 5 lines. Sometimes it is more, but 5 lines, 6 lines, one makra. One surah. Can't. Read some dua. No. 2 rakat namaz which is wajib. No. Namaz Zuhr Asr? No. Maghrib Isha also no. Mullah Sahib, we come on Friday. What am I going to do with the Friday? The attendance of Friday does not take me to Jannah. The attendance of Friday is my feeble effort to put the message of our Prophet across. It is a feeble effort by a sinful person like me. It does not convert, nor does it revolutionize. I have a hope on the day of judgment, if Allah has accepted this effort, I might be saved. And if I am saved, I may be making a dua that with me all my mu'mineen be saved. That is it. Some of you might be saved and you make a dua for me that we be saved. Like this. So, we are all prepared. A'mal which we did not like. But sometimes, suppose father tells his son, wake up and pray. Bapa thik che. He prays. Allahu Akbar. Mother says, read Quran. Alright. A'mal which you did not like. The Jamaat says you will not get Sahri unless you finish A'mal on the Quran, with the Quran on your head. Takes half an hour. And then Joshan Kabir. You are waiting for Sahri, but you have been grilled through the A'mal which we hate. Sometimes we hate. We think it is too long, too lengthy. So those A'mal which we did, although we did not like very much, writing of charity, khums, zakat, sadaqat, nazar, minnat, going for hajj, going for ziyarat rather than going to other places, going to hajj and ziyarat, I particularly put emphasis to going to umrah, where there is no attraction but the house of God. You could have gone to Paris, you could have gone to Stockholm, you could have gone to Trollhättan, you could have gone to anywhere else. You did not go, you went to a house of Allah for umrah. It's a sacrifice, you did. The amal which you may not have liked very much, you would have enjoyed much more in Paris. But you went there and you came. These are amal and sila raham. My own brother or nauzubillah sister or anyone who has wronged me, I am told not to wrong her or him and to make amends with him. It's a sacrifice. I know that it is a question of self-respect, but I still go because Allah wants me not to break with my blood relations. All these amal which I did not like, but I did. and these will accompany me. The Prophet said, the only friend which will come into the grave with you will be your a'mal, and it will tell you, look, the wealth is gone, the family is gone, I am going to be with you till you enter Jannah. This is the thing. There's something which the Prophet said, and when he said this, people started thinking that it seems there is a continuity. There is no salam in Sharia which does not have a reciprocal salam. If I tell you salamun alaykum, it is wajib upon you to answer wa alaykum salam. To say salam is sunnat, to respond is wajib. You go to Qabristan and there is one complete board which has been kept. Assalamu alaikum, ya ahla la ilaha illallah. Salam upon you, or people of Tawheed and believers of unity of God. Where is the answer? Where is the answer? If those who are there are perished, non-existent, having no feelings and no response whatsoever, then what is the meaning of salam? The question is answered by the Prophet himself, that those who are dead, they hear more than you do and they see more than you do. They answer you back in telling us wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Not only that, but Imam Ali used to go to Qabristan, Janatul Baqi, and sometimes say something. He said, salam upon you, O people who have gone before us, from a man who is going to follow you. Salam upon those who have gone before, from a person who is soon going to follow. Do you know what has happened after you have left? Imam has said this. Sometimes I thank God that we don't know Arabic. Had we known, we would not have said this. We tell him, I have come to tell you, do you know what has happened after you left the society and your family? Your wife got remarried to somebody else. Your house is occupied by somebody else. Your property has been occupied by somebody else. Your wealth is being utilized by somebody else. Do you know that this has happened? Now this is the meaning of the message which Ali ibn Abi Talib is giving while the people are listening, telling them that this is the sum total and result of every effort that is misguided on earth, that you are not the master of it. If you have handed over to Allah, you take only that which you do. The rest is not yours. It doesn't take even for the day of Qiyamah to come. Before the day of Qiyamah, that which is not mine is manifestly not mine. How many incidents of widows getting remarried? How many incidents of occupied properties resold and occupied by somebody else? How many things? People who talk of history will tell you, this belonged to Mr. X. It then happened so and so, it belongs to Mr. Z. It doesn't take a day of Qiyamah to come and change. Before that, things change. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may give us that courage to face that last moment of our life, which will come. It will come even if you are in fortresses. It will come even if you are in very big buildings. It will come even if you hide behind the mimbar or anywhere. It will come with all the nazar and manta. It will come. Because every hadith tells us that the protection of a person is done by its own death. It's a paradox. We are all being protected by our death. Understand what I say? Death, or the day of death, is known in Arabic as ajal. We say in English ajal, in Urdu also we say ajal, in Gujarati we say ajal, in Kiswahili also we say ajal, ajali mefika. Ajal has reached. Ajal is a time of departing from earth. Imam Ali in Nahj Balagha says everyone is protected by ajal. That means as long as the date hasn't come in, nothing can happen to him. So you are actually protected by the day of your death. As long as it is not dawned, nothing can happen to you. You will live. On the day that is determined that you are going to pass away, there is no nazar, no mannat, no dua, nothing. It is going to happen, it shall happen. Try to understand this. So, at that particular moment, the Prophet said that there are mu'mineen and mu'minat. When they die before the time of death comes, malaika come there and say, "Oh mu'min, do you want to go or do you want to stay behind?" In the omnipotence of Allah, in His qudra, nothing is impossible. You want to stay behind or you want to go? You say it. Allama Iqbal says, "Khudi ko kar baland itna कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रिजा क्या है." Lift yourselves up and up, to an extent that before every destiny, the Lord Himself asks you, "Tell me what is your pleasure? Tell me what is your pleasure. बता तेरी रिजा क्या है?" And at that particular moment, Allahumma salli alayhi rahmah says Hazrat Ibrahim lived for very long. Hazrat Ibrahim lived very long. When the time of death came, Malakul Maut came after salam and all the due respect and courtesy. He said, "Ya Khalil Allah, oh friend of Allah, the time is come." He said, "For what?" He said, "For going." Oh? He said, "Yes, so soon?" With all the long grey beard. So soon? Malakul Maut said, "It's not so soon. You are already approaching 100. You are old. You have children and grandchildren. You have fulfilled your mission. The time is up. And of course it is because of you that I am talking to you this way. I am not supposed to inform you. I am not supposed to take your leave. I am just supposed to come and do my duty. But because you are Khalilullah and you are the friend of Allah, the Prophet, I have been told to pay my due respect to you." Hazrat Ibrahim said, "But you know that I am Khalilullah." Khalil means intimate friend, of course. "Have you ever heard, O Malakul Maut, a friend killing a friend?" So Malakul Maut realized that there is some hesitation and reluctance. I mean, this doesn't apply to me and you, huh? It doesn't apply to us at all. It applies to Nabi. So he just prayed and said, "Ya Allah, you have heard what Ibrahim said. I don't have to comment. But it seems that he is reluctant." He says, "Have you ever heard of a friend kill a friend?" So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Ibrahim thinks that I am killing him. Malakul Maut, tell him, have you ever seen a friend trying to run away from visiting a friend?" Just tell him that much. If a visit is arranged between two friends, will you see a friend trying to run away from it? So Malakul Maut came and said, "Ya Ibrahim, the answer to what you said is this. Have you ever seen a friend refusing to visit a friend?" When Hazrat Ibrahim heard it, he said, "Malak, I am prepared to go. It all depends upon how you view death. According to those who think it is just destruction, it is destruction. Those who know that it is visiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a friend, then they go there with willingness." This is the difference between the attitude. Fine. So when the time comes, the mu'min is shown his darajat in Jannah, his attainments in heaven, and is shown that if you come, these are the places. If you want to live, the earth is for you. And it is at that time that mu'min decides that I want to go, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for all of us who weep and cry, we weep and cry because of love. We weep over the departed because of our love. That is not something bad. Remember, don't try to misunderstand me. We all weep over the departed soul, our friends, our parents, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters. We weep because of our love that now in this society we shall no more see him or her. But the dying mu'min, Payghambar says that he tells all those who weep, do not cry but think of yourselves, for you are going to follow in my wake very soon. But for me, I can tell you that I am happier here than I was on earth. I am happier here than I was on earth. When I sleep, I don't know what happens. Fuqaha have said that sleeping makes wuzu batil. You know what they have described sleeping as? Sleeping in the majlis. You know what is sleeping in the... Nobody sleeps in the majlis the way he sleeps on bed. He just dozes. A few words here and there of mullah are lost. And the second moment he regains consciousness, he has slept. His wuzu is batil. There is no doubt about that. A little bit of istighraq and the whole thing goes. So, when we sleep, the senses don't work because it is a temporary departure of nafs and Allah wants to send it back. But when we die, the body does not at that moment feel, but the ruh and the soul feels everything. Everything. That is the difference. So much so that a person who gives ghusl is told by the Prophet that give ghusl slowly and gently. Don't mishandle and don't handle the body of a dead person roughly. Because the ruh looks at it, and if he sees or she sees rough handling, it says, "O people who are giving ghusl, give it gently, for we have just parted and you do not know the torture that we have experienced as the body parts permanently from the soul. You don't know the pain we have undergone. You don't know the experience we have had. Please treat this body gently." And that ruh accompanies up to the grave, goes together with janaza. And when the grave is there, or whatever has happened to the dead person, say he's being drowning, and his ruh goes away with malaika, at that particular moment it departs for 3 days and not before that. Not only that, but the continuity of life, the Prophet said, is so much that the elderlies who have died come to the house of the children. My father has died. My grandfather has died. They do visit. The Prophet said the mu'mineen are allowed to visit their children and the family to see how they live. And if they see that the life has changed, in the house where there was namaz, there is no more namaz. In the house where there was Quran, there is no more Quran. In the house where there was no fisq and no fujur, no transgression, everything has entered in. They weep. They say, "Oh my children, my death was a lesson to you. Did you think you are going to live on earth forever? That you have forgotten all the lessons? You are going to follow the same way." The Prophet said this, that remember, especially on Thursdays and Fridays, the ruh and spirits of the mu'mineen are allowed to visit their friends and also their families. May Allah not bring that day that my father's spirit comes in my house, his soul, and sees me, namaz subuh going, sees me. Oh, there was a time when we had to travel to do a sin. I'm an old man now, so that's why I talk of times. Those of you who are my age but look younger are really very lucky. But with the burden that I have grown older soon. I'm very old. Older than I should be. I have lived with the old people, so I know many things, which normally even my contemporaries would not know. I say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Salawat Muhammad wa What was I talking about? What was I talking about?
To travel for the sin.
Yes, we had to travel for the sin. We had to travel for the sins. You know what I mean? The friend would come and say, yeah. आज रात ना छे ने छांबा में 4 माइल दूर एक म्यूजिक पार्टी से जाऊं 4 miles away in a shamba so that no one knows about it. जाऊं छे. So we tell at home, I'm going to shamba. Bas, that's half truth. And the parents know that the children go to shamba. Half truth. We go there and there's a music party. Some qawwalis have come and musicians have come. We spend the night, have early breakfast in the morning, namaz also. See? And then rush back home. Shamba. Kaun hai tu? So you name all the friends. You know that they will also not say at home what has happened. Fine. The parents are satisfied that he speaks truth. There's no lie. We had to travel 4 miles, 6 miles away. There was a time in a society where those who visited picture houses were actually blemished. To cinema jaiche. And those who went would never say that they went. And I know of good friends who went when the lights were switched off in the picture house. Enter when the lights are off. And get out before they are switched on, so that nobody sees them. This was how it was. We had to make an effort to commit a sin. Shaitan alayhi la'na wal adhab, Iblis, the devil, he contrived a way so that you don't need traveling. He said, up to now I have been asking you to come to me. I am now coming to your own houses. So in a television box, it is our guest. A devil is a permanent guest in our house. Shaitan is the permanent guest in our houses. In that particular tube, or call it TV. Now, anything can be used for any good purpose. You can take a knife to cut a fruit. You can take a knife to use for a kitchen. You can take a knife for any innocent and innocuous use. You can take a knife and also kill someone. You can take a television and have documentary or educational films being shown to you for your own education. You can take the TV for news broadcast, for news summary, or whatever it be. But that TV, 90% of it has got a different purpose. 10% is for those innocuous, innocent programs. 90% of it is brainwashing through the media. We know it. Telling us in a subtle way how a woman and man can live without getting married. How a child can answer back to the father and mother saying that she is or he is independent and that mind your own business. How they can pass adverse remarks against religion. How can they make a mockery of life after death? All these things, although I'm going to discuss next Friday inshallah on life after death according to the modern scientists. But today is not my subject. But I'm going to tell you exactly how these things are conveyed to the minds of the younger generation. The devil has come at home, and I don't know what is happening to the ruh of my father or my grandfather when it enters the house and says, oh, for the first time it might think that the house has changed into a cinema house. And it will take time for it to realize that the house is not a cinema house, but there is a small cinema already in a corner. There is no more any need to travel to go to picture house, the picture house in the house. There is no need to travel to the music party and hide yourself. The music party is in the house. So, we are living in an era where unless we do not control our own selves, we cannot survive. And the amal which we do, however distasteful it is, when the music in the house is not allowed, it is distasteful to young people. Mullah said, haram. Now look, we are not even allowed to hear at good voices. It's haram. When it is stopped, when such programs are being monitored which the children should not see, and if they see, there should be children of the age who can understand and discern, not those children who will be misled. There are certain programs which cannot be seen with father, mother, daughter and son sit together unless there is no haya and no ghaira. If you put a stop to this, it will be distasteful, it will be unpalatable, it will not be liked. But the amal which we don't like will help us when we go from here, and we do not know when we are going to be called and go. Now, before I conclude, imagine a person dying while he is reading Quran. Imagine a person dying when he is in sajda. Imagine a person dying when he is serving someone. Serving, only serving. Even those who will come just now with tea and niyaz, I don't know how much respect they have in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the moments which they spend in service of others. Although it is very simple, we must respect them. But if a person dies while serving, if a person dies while doing a good turn, he dies a shaheed. A person dying doing business, halal, not moja kombili, halal, halal, for the sake of his family and children, he dies shaheed. A clerical clerk who works at the desk so that he may get a packet and feed his children and dies a shaheed. A person, a woman, as a wife at home, works for the children who come home to have food and for the husband. She dies in that state, she dies a shaheed. All these things are ways of dying. But there is a person who dies while he is watching TV. I leave it up to you to imagine. Looking at those actresses and actors and قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. No time even for saying أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. Just looks at that. While he looks at his own film together with that, we don't know. We see that he is looking at that particular screen. Allah says at that last moment, no screen is there, it is his own screen before him, and he dies. Dies while in a party. Satya peace. Gamble or one-arm bandit. And he dies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Or drunk, boozed. All these things take us to think. May Allah give us that death which is honorable and graceful in His eye. And therefore, death is a reminder. Much can be said. If I am told that people are shaken and they have sleepless nights, I will stop. But if they have the courage to put up with what I am going to say, it will continue for many nights before we finally understand what the message of the Prophet about this life and death was. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.